Thank you, Tommy. Well, our next guest is Brian O'Driscoll.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hey, Tommy, how are you?
Good. Wow. We've only ever passed in the perfume section of Brown Thomas.
You come out of lingerie, me going into men's jocks.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all have our habits. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. I'm really good. And you?
Good. You had a baby recently.
Yeah. 5 weeks ago.
Wow, good man. Was it a boy or a girl?
A little boy, another boy, 2 boys and a girl now.
And what did you call him?
Ted.
Now. In homage to...
No, just we like the name
to
Ted.
the sitcom.
No.
No.
There was nothing. It's funny, over the course of you've got children. Over the course of the 9 months, you've so much time, and then it comes to D-Day, and then there's this uncertainty, and then throw in the cocktail of drugs as well that your better half has taken, and then it's like, I thought we had decided on Ted.
Yeah.
And then it didn't properly get ratified until kind of later on that night.
Yeah.
But yeah, we both settled on it. I thought months ago, but apparently not.
And do you attend the births?
I do.
And what kind of labours has Amy had?
Without giving too much away, I wasn't down the business end. But that was also to do with I wasn't encouraged down there by the doctors. I think
You're making it sound horrific.
No, but so she's had C-sections.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So I don't think through C-sections you're allowed to be beyond the curtain.
Oh, right, so, no, you're not. So my wife had C-sections as well, so with all 3 C-sections. All right, okay, so she's kind of drifting in this lovely kind of cotton wool world.
Yeah.
While they're stabbing her behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And they lift out this little miracle.
I know, it's... Because I've never experienced the other side and the prolonged labour, or she hasn't had to either. So it's all been very fast. And first daughter, or my daughter arrived on the morning of a match, so I got a quiet kind of a calm call to say, listen, been on to the doctor, I've gone into labour. Come on down to the hospital and we're going to have the baby, and then you can go back and play the game. And when you go in and the baby's delivered and you're in the kind of in recovery with them, I'm after like half an hour. It's a beautiful moment and you're enjoying it, but you're kind of having a quick look at the watch, going, okay, I've missed the walkthrough. Okay, I could get back for pre-match meal, and then.
But in fairness, a lot of fellas would have that if they were just watching the match.
But so then you have to kind of wait for her to say, oh, you should probably go, and then you can't go on the first one of those. You got to wait for a second one of them. And I was like, no, it's fine. And then she goes again. I was like, out the door. And then, but you play through a haze. I don't really remember that game. In many ways, you're not ready to play a test match after having a child that morning. That's for sure.
Did you have an awareness when you were playing of being one of the best in the world at what you do?
No, I thought that I could compete at a world-class level on my day, but I don't think you take it for granted that you're going to be that every time you play.
Yeah.
And there were times over the course of my career that I would have had fluctuations, dips in form, peaks at certain times where you realise that you're at that next level, or you've dipped below that level. So I think you've an awareness around where you are at any particular time, but I don't think you for a period go, I'm a world-class player. No, I don't think you think that way. But do you always feel as though you've got something to prove? I think that's what you chase as a pro, always trying to, the naysayers or yourself, that you want to evolve and get better and improve.
I have 4 sons and 2 daughters, but my sons, there's different levels of competitiveness in them. And I wonder what you were like as a young fella. Like, how competitive does a young fella have to be in order to become an international sports person?
you wanted to win, but I don't ever remember it being the be-all and end-all. I think that came later.
Yeah.
Where, because as well, even, sporting teams, I didn't get picked on sporting teams all the way through, my school, my school's rugby. I didn't, junior cup is a big thing at under 15s. I sat on the bench. Yeah. Then the first year playing senior cup rugby, I was dropped for a semi-final. And then I played in my second year. So it wasn't like I had it all my own way and that I was, destined to play international rugby. I had potential in that, and I had skill, but I definitely had a different sort of path to get to the top.
So what were you, as a first year in senior cup rugby, what were you lacking?
I was lacking a bit of size. I probably wasn't fully filled out, and a bit of confidence, I would say, lacking confidence that I had the capability of being at that level. And that some of those, you have those things at different markers in your life, and even playing internationally, I played my first 3 of my first test matches against Tim Horan, an Australian centre who'd won 2 World Cups and my childhood hero. And I wasn't that nervous against him, but I played in a Rugby World Cup match, which was about my 7th or 8th test match, against a guy called Grobbelaar. I'd never heard of him before, but I looked at the programme beforehand and he had the biggest, thickest beard, and I was scared out of my life, thinking, I don't think I belong here.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's a proper man, and I'm just this kid. And I went out and I scored my first international try, and maybe he was like, oh, OK, maybe I am. I caused some problems for him and him not that many for me, so maybe I am here. So you have those little moments that you tick off along the way, and they're all confidence builders.
Yeah. If someone was looking at you now and didn't know that you were a rugby player and they're trying to guess, they probably, is he a psychologist or something? Because you're very kind of...
I'm glad you didn't say geography teacher.
Because you have there's a mildness, there's a sensitivity, you're well-spoken, you're kind of... there's an awareness about you that doesn't match with the thuggery and the premeditated violence of international rugby.
Yeah.
You're like one of those serial killers who's been brought in and people are, him? It wasn't him. And the judge calls you, hi.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry about that, Ted. Yeah, so it's... anyway, so what was the thing, these little markers, so being picked for...
Yeah, Irish schools, Irish 19s. We won the Under-19 World Championship in France in '98. I think that was a real catalyst for... OK, maybe I do belong here. And it's just those little ticks along the way. And then I think a big moment for me, I scored a hat-trick in Paris in 2000. And for me, that all the self-doubt that I might have been carrying up to that point, I think that kind of relieves that and go, oh, hang on, if you're able to do that on a big stage, surely you can match it on other big stages. Yeah. And I think that gives a massive injection of confidence to be able to go on to hopefully achieve a little bit more.
Tell me about the... and we won't all be talking about rugby. I have another arena to get into, which we'll do now, actually. And this might sound strange. Would you have any worries about yourself as a dad?
Yeah, of course. You want to... you want to make the most positive impact you possibly can on your children. You look to your own dad and the things that he did so well and continues to do, and you try and take those traits. I think that for me the big thing is time, is giving my kids time. It's easy to kind of say no to a football match. Dad, can I have a football match? I've got something to do, or I've got to watch this game. I played a couple of games with my 6-year-old this afternoon, and then as I was leaving to come here, he said, "Can I have another game?" And I said, "No, I have to go and do an interview. But if you're up at 8 o'clock, we'll play a quick game when we're home. It's those little moments that you think are insignificant, but they're not. They make a big deal in their heads. It's just time given to them, and it only takes you 5 or 10 minutes. You know, when you give them a good pumping, a good pummeling.
It's important to win, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, listen, you got to teach that from a young age. Actually, it was funny in the second game today. I won the first one, and in the second game, I thought I better let him win this one, and I kind of I badly dummied to let the ball through my legs for a goal, and he caught me. He's like, Dad, don't humiliate me. Don't humiliate me. So I had to, and then I went and by accident scored the next goal, so I ended up winning both games. So I don't know. It's those little moments that you I think seem insignificant as an adult, but are really important as a kid. You know, kids don't remember nice hotels or any of that stuff. They remember the friendships and the great times. And it was funny when Amy was in having Ted. I was at home, obviously looking after the kids, and then they asked, could we go glamping? I was like, glamping? No, we're not going glamping. Nowhere's open. So they said,
how old are they when they asked you this?
She's my daughter's 7, and she's obviously heard glamping. I don't know if she knows what it is. And I said, no, there's nowhere open. Okay, can we sleep in the car then? And I was like, oh no. And I thought, do you know what? It happened to be the really first of the freezing cold snaps. And we were in the car, and I put a mattress into the car during the afternoon, and then I'm like, are we actually going to do that? They basically bullied me into it. So in at 9 o'clock, the three of us into the back of the car. It was brass monkeys. It was so cold. And the two of them nodded off to sleep. But not before my daughter was like, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. Well, we're in the bush. Out you go. And I couldn't sleep. But at 10:30, after we'd been about an hour,
was part of your mind thinking, I could leave them here now?
But you know what I had to do? My next door neighbour had fabulous Christmas lights, and I had to text them that afternoon, going, any chance you could turn the Christmas lights off tonight? I don't think we're going to be able to sleep in the car with the lights glaring in. So we slept till about 10:30 or 11:15, make sure they were in a deep sleep, and then I carried them upstairs and put them into bed, and I told the two of them that we'd I was worried about the danger of how cold it got. It was the middle of the night when I carried you. So like those things, they still talk about it. It's those little things that are I don't know what's great about parenthood.
That's lovely. Have you experienced many crises?
A few, yeah. One of my very good friends committed suicide 10 or 11 years ago. 12 years ago. That was probably as big as it's gotten. In some ways, because of the actual circumstance of how it happened, and it was such a bolt from the blue, I think ultimately you don't have the answers. I think you just have to accept it, that it was like a moment of madness, and I, you know, it's mad. I have a recurring dream that I get every 5 or 6 months, I'd say, and he comes back into it, and he's just been away, and it's actually lovely. I'm not sad when I wake up. It's kind of nice that moment. I'm kind of relieved.
Yeah. Contact.
Yeah, because it just doesn't make the whole thing never made any sense. So to yeah, just having back, go, oh, this now, that makes sense. You went away rather than the finite alternative. At least he was back, and I was like, okay, if you're not, even if you're not going to hang out with me anymore, at least I know that you're alive. And that gives a sense of comfort.
Where do we go now? Let's talk about, I guess what I'm also interested in is the types of men that you would have met on the rugby pitch. I mean...
Yeah. Yeah, listen, like every walk of life, I think sometimes what you see on the rugby pitch can often be very different to what you see off it. Some of the biggest animals are the biggest gentlemen, which kind of beggars belief.
yeah.
I remember we played the World Cup in '99. There was a guy, Paddy Johns, played for Ulster, and really he was tough. He was a real enforcer, threw his weight around, and nicest guy you'll ever, very softly spoken. And remember, he got me in a subsequent Leinster Ulster match. Got me like a rake mark or something, and I thought I'd better try and get him back. So I remember seeing Paddy in a ruck, and he kind of looked a bit kind of isolated and prime for getting hit. And I kind of ran for about 15 metres, out of position, and I smashed him. And I remember lying on him, thinking he's dead. And all he pops, he goes, "Nice hit, Drico." And I just thought, I've just given him everything that I can, and he's just part of his game.
Yeah.
And then, forgotten, there's no animosity, nothing carried over, and, again, back to, softly spoken Paddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it allows you to vent in a way that society doesn't allow you.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you, Brian. I often wondered what it might be like to meet you, and it's been great. So thank you very much
Thanks for having me, Tommy. Cheers.